The Midwest, home sweet home in good old Indiana. Place of small towns, cozy families gather together, and fields of corn and rustic woods. But, like any town, there is a dark underbelly that often goes unnoted. We are part of that darkness. We lurk in the shadows to bring you the best in horror, metal, and stories of the grotesque. This is Blood in the Cornfields.
All right, welcome in, cellar dwellers.
Hey, how's everybody going?
Episode.
How's everything?
Eh?
How's everybody doing? I can't
I was like,
talk
man?
today. I can't talk today.
That is all right. You got it out.
I did. Eventually, it just... It was like, vomit of the mouth. So sorry, y'all.
Nothing wrong with that. It is what it is. Hope everyone's doing good out there. Love to see the interaction. Getting excited because we've had some of these, last few episodes we put out have taken off, caught in a lot of people's interest, getting some views. I love it. It's been great.
Yes, thank you all so much. This has been awesome to see it grow. That's crazy, dude.
Yes, it has. Well, so I've got lots of things to share. I'm trying to improve on this, doing the whole podcast and shit, getting a little more organized. So, in my serial killer handwriting, I have some things down.
Wow, you really do have the handwriting of Jeffrey Dahmer. Assuming.
It's pretty terrible, but I can read
mine's
it.
not great either.
That's
so
all right.
I can't
That's
say
all right.
anything.
So some of the big things happening this week. Wanted to start off with something that just dropped today. Did not know it was dropping. Gonna talk about the Joker 2 trailer.
Yeah.
So, mixed emotions about this. So, my first thing, first Joker, loved it. Great movie. Phoenix knocked it out of the park.
The Taxi Driver, comparisons, perfect. Spot
dude,
on.
it was so great.
It was
so
a very good movie to watch in theaters.
Definitely one of my, top 20 movies.
Oh, really?
Opinion. Yeah.
Wow.
I definitely loved it. So the trailer drops. The one thing I didn't know about, because I haven't read about this, I just was...
Oh.
The only thing I saw was, last year when Joaquin Phoenix is running down the street, I saw, they were sharing clips of that, the live, recording that. So I thought that was really cool. But... what kind of threw me off is they're doing the whole Harley Quinn thing.
Oh, you didn't know about that?
I didn't know about that. I did not know about that.
I knew about it because, literally as they were announcing Joker 2, the first thing that, popped up on my feed is Lady Gaga's in it. And I'm like, you know what? That's cool. I don't mind. She was good in American Horror Stories, so it's like, I could see her doing all right. Yeah,
I'm just, I'm nervous. I'm nervous because to me it's kind of it's a risk that they're taking. I'm not excited they're doing the whole Harley Quinn thing, mainly because just with the Suicide Squad stuff and the Margot Robbie.
Yeah.
Terrible. Just
you didn't like it?
Hated her as Harley Quinn and that voice that she
Wow,
speaks
you didn't like her as Harley?
Oh, no, I hated her.
Dude, I was all about her as Harley. I thought she was... Well, one, I have a major crush on her, so she's super cute.
She's mildly attractive.
She's very pretty. And I thought before every girl that year dressed up as her for Halloween and cosplays. That's part of the
reason I hate it is because it's I've just been oversaturated with Harley Quinn this, Harley Quinn that. Not as much this year, but
over the years.
Yes.
I totally get that.
Oh, it's so exhausting. But from the looks of it, they pulled back on the makeup, which I'm cool with.
Yeah.
So she's not
she's not dolled up. She's not crazy. And that's kind of what I like about the Joker movie is it was more grounded in reality. And
Absolutely.
So looking at the new trailer for this, I feel like it's just basically going to be the same thing for her. She did great in not only American Horror Story, but A Star Is Born.
Yeah, yeah.
She's a phenomenal actress, and yeah, she's a good singer. I don't know if she'll sing in this, but who knows? I mean, it'd be a waste of potential if she didn't sing. Yeah. Maybe there's a fantasy scene or something that they share together.
Who knows? You never know.
But I'm kind of excited about it, but I also get where you're coming from with the oversaturation of Harlequin shit.
Yeah.
And then how are they going to make this relationship work is my other thing. Because it's you've already seen the Jared Leto Joker and all that bullshit and all the thing, her little fantasy sequence with that. And it's okay, But this is still a toxic, terrible person that Joaquin Phoenix is playing, but also at the same time, he's a sympathetic character.
Yeah.
So what is this relationship going to look like? Are they still going to take a page out of Taxi Driver and have the Harley Quinn character be like, who plays the chick in Taxi Driver that he's attracted to?
Jeez. Oh,
isn't it Joan?
You're asking me to go back in time.
Isn't it the chick from Silence of the Lambs?
Let me see. Let me find out. It is Jodie Foster.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. So yeah, I'm wondering, are they going to do that dynamic? Like, what's going on?
I hope they just make it Harley Quinn's character as like a natural version of Harley Quinn, like they did with the Joker, like a realistic version of the Joker. If they make it a realistic version of Harley Quinn, which I'm pretty sure this is what they're going for, and then make it more of a realistic person character, not flamboyant, not over the top, like comic book character.
Yeah,
but they bring it home to more of a real person, then I think they may knock it out of the park. For me, it's just like, I saw Lady Gaga and I'm like, oh, they're doing Harley Quinn, and it was like, I don't know, like just a little weary, a little worried on my part, but
totally get the feelings though.
Excited, and they put a date to it, October 4th, the day after my birthday.
Woo! Nice.
Yes. So all right, on to the next one. We've got some big ones we're talking about right off the bat. Maxine dropped today.
Maxine
dropped today. So, you start us off with that one. What you think?
Okay, I'm excited. I'm thrilled because they nailed the like nasty, kind of cruddy, kind of old 80s kind of filth. Filthy movies like Mean Streets or Maniac. Didn't quite get there, but very close to that's what they are obviously being inspired by. Or like the New York Ripper.
Yeah.
Like a lot of those kind of Mean Street nasty movies, that are very sleazy. And I love that. I love the sleazy, nasty movies. Good. Bring them back. I want more of that shit. And it's where she's kind of more of the hero and she's, got all this shit going on around her. So I'm happy. I'm excited.
I'm interested to hear her story told. I want to know how the old crusty chick became who she was in the first one, Pearl.
Yeah.
And all that became, who she was. But I have reservations about this one because it's a big cast. It
is huge.
Big name people in there. And that's probably going to take away from one of the things that I loved from X and Pearl was Mia Goth was the star. Everyone took a backseat to her and she had like mild B-listers on those movies with her, into where Mia Goth like stood out, and now she's become even more of a star. And I'm like, oh no, because I think like Kevin Bacon's in it, and I'm worried that she's not gonna be as much like the big focal point in her performance, standing out over everyone else's. I don't know. That's what I worry about. And I worry that it's gone too big budget. I feel like they're going to do the, Michael Bay effect. They're going to over budget it and make it, too expensive, and it's going to water it down. That's my concern.
I can definitely see that worry, but also at the same time, think about where they're at. They needed a bigger budget for this one in particular, just because of where they were. They were literally, they're in a city setting.
Yeah.
If you think about like Jason Takes Manhattan, all the weird shit that they had to go through just to do that shit, they definitely needed a bigger budget.
Yeah.
But also Kevin Bacon, he doesn't necessarily always need to have like lead roles. Yeah, he's like I think one of the main bad guys in it. Is that right? Did I see that correctly?
I think he's like a detective that's going after her to try and track her down.
Okay.
I believe is what I understood. But then also too, I'm nervous about Halsey in it. I've never seen her act in anything. I have no idea if she's good or not, but and I'm also a little leery that when you take a good movie and you do it again and you make a good movie and you try to do it a third time, it usually doesn't turn out very
That's
good.
Honestly true. That's a legit worry.
And this is one of I love this franchise. I love how different it was. Mm-hmm. Mia Goth, I mean, obviously she became a straight up superstar because of her role in this. And
I think Pearl really sold her role.
Yeah. Well, I think like with X, they were like, oh my gosh, who's this chick? She's pretty, but she certifiably seems crazy.
Yeah.
And like she plays it so well. And then don't forget Infinity Pool.
Yep. I was going to mention that. Yep.
You know. And
all the other stuff that she's in, you know, currently that's horror
she's
related.
Currently in a lot of shit. I'm actually going to talk about her again.
But I'm okay with it. I think that the bigger cast is a little warranted. I want to see where they go with it. Kevin Bacon in more horror films is great. I'm glad he's doing more horror films. I think the last horror film I saw him in was it They Them?
Oh yeah, I didn't even watch that one. I heard about it. Didn't it just go straight to streaming?
Yeah, and honestly, it's an okay film. It's not great, but it's okay for what it is. Yeah. But I like seeing him in it. He returned to his roots because he was in the original Friday the 13th. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm glad to see him do that, and he really did play a menacing villain in that one. So I can see him being threatening in this one, and not to mention he's going to be in the new Toxic Avenger.
I know. Yeah.
So, I'm pretty proud of our boy.
Yeah. It's crazy. So I'm really, really excited about that one. Two mammoth, just absolutely mammoth trailers dropping on the same day is insane. So we're going to shift gears. I'm curious to this one because we exchanged pictures of this one.
Yeah.
So the first look at Frankenstein's monster, but I believe it's called The Bride. From doing some research, I believe they're calling it The Bride.
Who's the director on that?
So this is where I get confused, and stay with me because I'm going to probably have to take a full another week to research this. So with researching this, because you sent me the pictures, there is a Frankenstein's monster, what I believe is called The Bride, with Christian Bale and some other big name actors, actresses. Then there's another Frankenstein movie that Guillermo del Toro is directing, starring Mia Goth, starring the dude from Spider-Man. Oh, what's Garfield.
Andrew Garfield.
Andrew Garfield. And then there's another dude that you've seen in everything. There's like 5 big name actors in that one too. And from everything I could read, they're 2 separate movies. But I'm going to have to take another week to research this because I find it really strange that they would be putting out 2 Frankenstein movies in the same year, but just like 2 different casts.
You know, that kind of is...
The other one has Maggie Gyllenhaal, like the Christian Bale, Maggie Gyllenhaal, and there's like 3 or 4 other like star-studded actors in that one. But then there's also a shit ton in the Guillermo del Toro flick too. So I stopped researching it because I was just coming to dead ends because there's not a lot of information about them. And I even went to the IMDb and I saw a cast shot of the Mia Goth one. So I'm like, okay... So, and I saw the actors in it that they're saying are in it. So I assume that one's a real thing too.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, because there is one here, like you mentioned, that says Frankenstein. Yeah. It's just called Frankenstein. Has Oscar Isaac in it, Guillermo del Toro, and then Jacob Elordi.
Yeah, so he replaced Andrew Garfield as the monster. Okay. I read about that. Garfield had to pull out for some reason.
Okay.
But still, like some pretty big actors in that one, and it's Guillermo del Toro. So
that's not the first time that this would happen. Not necessarily with Frankenstein, but rather with Pinocchio.
Interesting.
There was a whole fucking year. That was a whole thing. Guillermo del Toro released his Pinocchio. There was the Disney version. They did their remake of Pinocchio in the same year. Yeah. And then there was a shitty 3D computer animated Pinocchio with the voice of how's it going, buddy? As Pinocchio.
Really?
Yeah. What's his name?
I cannot remember.
I can't remember his name.
I can't remember either.
Luke, you can help us out. But yeah. So there were 3 Pinocchios that year. So it does not surprise me that Guillermo del Toro is going to pull this shit again.
Yeah. So y'all in the comments, help us do some research. I'll try to do some research. You too, Ivy. Maybe we'll come next week with some more clarification if there is any. But it seems like there's 2 different flicks.
But going back to those pictures with Christian Bale as Frankenstein.
And the first thing I said to you was like, when did they try to make Frankenstein a GQ photo shoot?
Yeah.
It really does.
Like the monster, he's got like hope tattooed just above. I'm like, you know what?
It gives me Crow vibes.
It does.
It's the same thing.
This is just a trend.
What the fuck are they doing?
This is just a trend now. Literally so this is what it's making me think of.
God.
Y'all that are younger and you guys get it. You guys have been on Tumblr and Instagram forever.
What is Tumblr?
You don't know?
Stupid because I don't know what Tumblr is.
No, you're not stupid. You're showing your age.
I'm showing my age a little bit.
And that's okay. Like, it just makes me think of these Tumblr and Instagram, not Instagram, but Pinterest pictures where it had like basically rockabilly, Frankenstein monster and bride.
Just if I'm not mistaken, doesn't he have bangs or something?
I think he does.
He might have bangs.
And it's just giving me those vibes. It's like those edits of like the original pictures of Frankenstein and the bride, you know, together and doing shit and looking all lovingly when they like hated each other.
Sweet. Well, so we're going to move on, go to the next one.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've got a lot here. So interesting thing. So I'm keeping up on this movie for y'all 28 years later. It's very important to me. Mm-hmm. I love this franchise. I'm so excited. It seems like Danny Boyle is still on. The producer is still on as well, too. Cillian Murphy has signed on. They've brought in some big names. You may not know this one. She's kind of up and coming, but she is pretty well known. Jodie Comer.
Oh.
She's in the series Killing Eve.
Okay.
I told you to watch.
Yeah.
Killing Eve. Yes. It has the chick from Grey's Anatomy.
Oh, yes. You've told me about this.
Yes, actually. I cannot remember her name. But anyway, Jodie Comer plays a sociopath in that show, and she's fucking outstanding. Ooh. She does an amazing job. So she's in this one. Right now, she's in a biker movie. Forget the name of it. Damn it, I should have wrote that down. But there's a biker movie that's out in theaters.
The Bike Riders?
Yes, that she's supposed to be really good in as well. So she's blowing up. Ralph Fiennes is in this as well. Mm-hmm. You've seen him in everything. He played in Harry Potter, the dude that shall not be named.
Oh, Voldemort.
Yes. He's been in a ton of movies. And then also Charlie, I believe his name is Hunnam.
Cillian Murphy's in it too.
Yeah. The dude
Oppenheimer?
Sons from Anarchy. The blonde guy from Sons of Anarchy.
Oh, okay,
like all the chicks thought he was the hottest thing. He's going to be in it too.
Yeah.
So it's
really?
kind of a stacked cast that they're rolling out. So I'm definitely excited for that one. Gonna keep it moving. Another one I'm so fucking stoked for. Fallout, the TV series gets released. So
I heard about that. It
gets released today. It's supposed to be out on the 11th, but I follow Walter Goggins' Instagram, and he got on there and was like, hey, you know, I've got something for you. Fallout is premiering tonight at 6 p.m., a day early, and I was just like, oh, I haven't been able to watch it. I love Walter Goggins.
Yep.
Baby Billy.
Freeman.
Baby Billy.
Crack me up.
I love this shirt. So yeah, that's coming out a day early. Totally stoked for that. Favorite video game of all time. Like, I have a tattoo that I'm not going to tell you guys that I want to work on with Neil.
Ooh,
it's a Fallout tattoo.
That's cool.
It's totally custom. Just comes from my brain.
That's cool.
And then last thing, I know we talked about it last week, but The Exorcist Believer, it got released on Amazon Prime. So you can watch it for free. I know you didn't necessarily...
No one likes it. It's not worth your money.
But it's free if you have Prime.
It's not worth your time.
Oh, I haven't watched it, so I will watch it just to kind of, you know, float it and see.
I'd love to know your thoughts.
Yeah, you'll get it. But yeah, that's on Prime. I thought, hey, some of the viewers, if you want to check it out, it's free. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But hey, I'm more organized now.
Hey, you did great.
Yeah.
So I got a couple things to kind of rattle off real quick.
Awesome.
One of them is apparently, according to Bloody Disgusting.
Disgusting, which I follow a lot.
They mentioned that Blair Witch is getting a reboot sequel. We don't know what the fuck it is.
Oh.
It's by the same producer of Blair Witch from 2016, just Blair Witch.
The one you didn't see and didn't see, yeah.
So Roy Lee is apparently just thumbing through all of Lionsgate's old horror movies, like all the shit that they have, and is just like, let's do this one.
So
let's do this one now.
I have an interesting perspective on Blair Witch.
Yeah.
So I'm significantly older than you. We all know this. So I watched Blair Witch when it first came out. I don't know if you remember, but I certainly do. When Blair Witch came out, I don't remember what year, but it came out in a time when like the internet was not as rapid and as fast as what it was.
Yes.
It was billed as a real filming, real movie.
Yes, I do remember.
Brilliant marketing that they got people. I believed it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to see this movie thinking it is an actual movie. Needless to say, I basically almost threw up because of the motion sickness with the first person camera stuff.
Yeah.
Because it bounces around a lot.
It does. They are running.
But yeah, I went and saw it with Blake, and we were under the impression that it was actually a real thing.
That's cool. Yeah, because in 1999, they had that campaign was fucking nuts because they had like you said, the internet, they had a whole web page that was dedicated to this, and like these bloggers that were like upkeeping it and all this stuff like weeks, months in advance before the movie came out. And so brilliant. It was circulating.
And it took I want to say a week or two, because I went and saw it opening week. It took a week or two for everyone to catch up and for the media to be like, hey, it's not real. So there was like a 1 to 2 week period where people were thinking it was real. Well,
the director kind of did like a Cannibal Holocaust thing where they had them lie low and like, don't say anything.
Which is brilliant.
Go away for a while,
Brilliant. Made a shit ton of money for what they put into it.
Yes, it did, considering the fact. And my husband hates that movie, so I always love bringing up this shit, and I think it's funny to me. I genuinely like it. I like the first movie. Book of Shadows had the potential to be good.
Yeah.
I'm going to actually shout out YouTube channel here that I really like a lot. It's called Good Bad Flicks.
Good Bad Flicks, okay.
I'm trying to remember. Cecil is the name of the gentleman that runs it. He does a great job. And he did a whole awesome video on the Book of Shadows and what it could have been had the studio not have messed with the final product of the movie. Yeah. And it sounded like a fucking great, like, twist horror film had the studio not have cut it to shit.
Yeah.
So, say what you want about a new Blair Witch movie. I think it's very silly. It's also Blumhouse, so I roll my eyes every time I see their logo. You know what? Blumhouse is weird. They got good shit and they got bad shit.
Yeah. There's not a lot in between.
90% of their shit is bad, but you got that couple 10% that are just beautiful, and then of course I need to talk about this one because I know how much you like it. Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey is coming out because the second one, because it got so much traction and because it's in, public domain now. Well, I guess Bambi's time is up. Bambi the Reckoning is coming soon.
They purposefully didn't show you Bambi in that trailer.
Yeah.
Just because I believe it's going to look shitty.
How much you want to bet it's actually just like, you got the camera, you got the fucking horns attached to the camera, and that's it. It's a POV shot of horns being rammed into people's shit.
Oh my god. I'm not cool with this trend. I may boycott them all. Like I don't know if I ever want to watch those.
Apparently the Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey is available on Peacock, so it can be seen.
Well, I don't have Peacock, and
you're not interested.
I don't want it, no.
However, that guy, that director, that his name's Rise Frake Waterfield, is coming out with a shit ton of other movies.
I know. And this is why I want to boycott it. Go ahead. Tell everybody.
I'm going to tell everybody. Pinocchio Unstrung.
It's just stupid.
He's also doing what's the other one he's doing? He's producing Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare and Awakening Sleeping Beauty.
Oh my gosh.
You know what?
I don't even know what to say. I would rather watch people doing fart pranks on Instagram all day than watch these movies.
I'm just waiting for the Mickey Mouse Steamboat Willie horror
Is there gonna be one?
I've heard that there's supposed to be. There's already a horror-themed video game coming out that actually looks really good. It's kind of bendy ink machine looking. It's all animated.
Do you know the name?
I don't know the name of it, but Luke, I'm sure you can help us out with that. But it looks good. Like I saw, not gameplay, but like a sneak peek of it. Just called Mouse. Look at it. It's pretty cool. It's like a shoot 'em up game. All animated.
That's interesting looking.
Yeah. He's got kind of like a pot pie thing going on. Like, I'm cool with this.
Yeah, it's quirky.
Yeah, like I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I can't really think of like anything else to say.
Yeah,
it doesn't look that bad. Like I'm like, okay, I can see a lot of people would play it. I needed to be more realistic, I guess, for me. I'm just not into like the hokey stuff, but I know there's a lot of people that are.
Yeah,
I'm definitely not that type. You know, because like a shit ton of people play Fortnite. To me, Fortnite looks hokey.
Oh yeah, no, I don't.
You know, comic book character looking dudes jumping around, yipping, doing all that shit. My reflexes are too slow to play that shit. These little bastards, fucking 8 years old, shooting my ass and just talking shit to me. Yeah, no, I'm good.
Get out of here. Go eat cookies. Yeah. Get out.
Go read a book, you lazy bastard.
That's right. All right. So, I think that's all I got as far as news. Oh, one last thing.
Okay, can't forget something.
April 25th. Krishna Den show, please, if you guys can make it, be there. It's going to take place at the Well basement, and we are doing a little green room for that and try to have a little table set up so that
you can get coffee and watch metal.
Yeah,
coffee and metal.
That's pretty metal.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Which reminds me of that poor chick in the pink that got just trashed in the face on that video.
Oh my God, dude.
She just got pelted. I felt bad. Lady. Hey, don't be in there unless you... And she looked like she could take it. Obviously, she got hurt. I just sent Ivy a clip of... It was like this mosh pit and these dudes doing the ninja kicks and this poor girl in the pink just gets clocked in the face.
Like, poor lady.
Yeah.
Like, that happens, man. I've gotten shit.
That's why I stand in the back. I watch the drummers. I sip the coffee. You know, that's my.
I think the worst thing that ever happened to me in a pit, real story, is that I got a whole bunch of people that dogpiled on top of me by accident.
You're tiny.
By accident.
Okay, all right.
So literally everybody was like, all I remember is darkness. I couldn't see anything. All I could feel was the weight of everybody on top of me. And all of a sudden, I just see bodies coming off of me because everybody's trying to get me out of there. It was the metal community is really kind. They see somebody fall down, they're gonna help immediately. And I just remember everybody was like, are you okay, are you okay, are you okay? But I made my way out of there and I kept on moshing.
All right, sweet.
Hey, spooky parents. We want to help promote an awesome alternative clothing brand from the Midwest made just for you ghouls. It's Feral Mama. The brand was started by Gretchen, a mother of 4 living in Cleveland, Ohio, who is a trained doula and has a passion for supporting motherhood and other mothers who are struggling with mental illness, postpartum depression, and mothers who are struggling to find a support group for other alternative mothers. Since she started her business, she has found an awesome community that has supported her through thick and thin. We support her on this mission as parents ourselves. Feral Mama has lots of comfy t-shirts with spooky designs for mostly mamas, but also some unisex options are available for any of you papas or caregivers out there. She also sells kids shirts from time to time, as well as hoodies, crew neck, long sleeve shirts, patches, pins, mugs, and some other really cute bags. You can use my code OscureIvy to get 10% off your first order using the link in the description on our Instagram or even on our YouTube, feralmamashop.com/OscureIvy. That's feralmamashop.com/OscureIvy. By supporting her, you will also be helping us continue to do what we do. It can take anywhere between 14 to 21 business days to receive your order, but remember, she is only one person. So go support your local Feral Mama today. Remember to support small businesses, women, and of course, badass mamas everywhere.
We got true crime. We got true crime.
It is a true crime story. I've been wanting to do this one for a while. The problems that I ran into this one is I just kept thinking that there was more out there. So that's why I put this on pause, because I kind of had everything typed up for the most part, but there's not a lot. go into on this one.
And you would think, because when did he disappear? You mentioned that he disappeared in 2011. You would think that there would be more stuff out there this long afterwards.
And most of the articles are not newish that I reached up. So I don't think there's been any new development. So
that's too bad.
Let me get into it. Today we are going to be telling the story of Scott Lilly. Scott Lilly is a South Bend, Indiana native. Reason we are telling this story is because, unfortunately, Scott went and hiked the Appalachian Trail and never came back.
Yeah,
it's unfortunate, but I'll get into the story and we'll kind of go along with it. And
he was only 30 years old.
30 years old. Yep,
that's so sad.
Yep, absolutely. Poor guy. So, as I'd mentioned, this story does take place on the Appalachian Trail in 2011. The AT, as it's known, is a hiking trail in the East United States, expanding 2,220 miles from Georgia to Maine.
Wow, that's really far.
It's very far. The trail passes through 14 states. The trail is the longest hiking-only trail of its kind in the world.
Yeah.
So yes, longest hiking-only trail in the world.
That's cool. Like the fact that you can actually do that hike along the mountains like that. I mean, I don't have it in me to do that, but that's awesome for the people that do. I know isn't there like communities that usually do that together?
There's all sorts of hiking communities. There definitely is kind of a hiking community out there. I'll go into a little bit more. So there's more than 3 million people that hike segments of this trail each year. Wow. So that's usually what happens. Because like I said, it extends from Georgia to Maine. People normally will just hike segments of it. Because it is very long.
Yeah.
I really wanted to cover this because I wish that my life, like, I was in better shape. I wish I was younger. I wish I had the money and I wish I had the time, because this would be an absolute dream for me.
Oh, really?
To hike the trail. Oh, absolutely. I love hiking. I love being outdoors.
That's cool.
I love getting gritty. This is an absolute dream for me. So I can put myself in his shoes very easily and just feel what I imagine he felt, going on this. So this is a big reason why I wanted to, because like I said, I would love to do this. Like, even if I did a portion of it, that would be great. So sorry, a little sidetracked, but the trail was first proposed in 1921 and completed in 1937.
Shit.
Yes. The trail is maintained by 31 clubs and multiple partnerships. So there's that kind of hiker community that they go and take care of.
That's
they
really
maintain cool. And all that sort of stuff.
I guess, that makes sense. There, of course, would be people that take care of trails.
It's so long.
I don't know. For some reason, I'm just like, I guess it just stays that way. No, you still got to maintain the path.
And there are parts of this that are extremely remote. Extremely remote. That's why it's kind of challenging. So there are hikers called through hikers. Those are the type that walk the entire trail in a single season.
Oh, my God.
Yes. I put it up further on in the story, but I think I need to flip it back up to give context to that. So people that hike this trail, it generally takes 5 to 7 months, depending on weather and skill set.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, so this is a long, long commitment.
I mean, I figured it would be, but damn, that's a long time. That's like half a year.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who does this?
There's,
I know there's a lot of
3 million people. They at least do
commitment.
Segments. And I'll get 2 more. So the number of through hikers, as I said, were the ones that go all the way through, has increased since 2010, with 715 northbound and 133 southbound as recorded in 2017.
Oh my God.
Yes, so a lot more people starting out in Georgia. Reason being is because the main part is very rocky, very hard to train. So a lot of people do that last, which
I'd rather get out of the hard shit first. Before.
I think it's because a lot of people want to have the option of like doing the toughest part so they can tap out, is my theory. because you're, kind of going and it's easier. But anyway, yeah, because I've read about
or maybe it's
Trail.
like at the very end, you want that final boss. So you got to like climb all that shit.
Could be. Yeah, I actually watched a YouTube video of a guy that did the whole thing, and he narrated it by video. And you hike up this mountain, and there's a placard, and there was like other people there. I don't know if they were in. I don't think he had a group, but he may have, and just left them off camera. But they were like all kind of excited, and he was like emotional and slapped the placard, and it was just like this whole completion thing. Because you have to imagine like 5 to 7 months, like he was doing it.
That's crazy.
So
cool.
It is estimated that only 25% of those who actually attempt the through hike actually finish the whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah, like I said, it does take 5 to 7 months.
You gotta be prepared for that shit. Damn.
Yes, you do. So,
I mean, I figured you do. Like, I see backpack, they got their backpack and all their other, shit. And, you gotta find a little area to, like, go off and stuff. But it's like, I can't imagine.
Yeah.
I am just, damn. Okay. That's awesome.
And you have to think, I mean, it does go through the Appalachian Mountains. So, like, you guys are horse freaks. So, like, you've seen me some wrong turn shit.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm like,
And I've read, and it is a known thing that there are, like, hill people that live in these mountains, and they talk about them. But, yeah, there was even someone who theorized that, like, the hill person may have been involved or something. But yes, they are actually people that live in these mountains. And there's all sorts of spiritual stories. Like if you've ever researched the Appalachian Mountains, like I have, there's all sorts of spiritual things that people claim goes on.
Wow.
All sorts of stuff. Yeah, you should look into it. It's some pretty interesting stuff. Okay. So now the story of Scott Lilly. So Scott Lilly was born on May 10th, 1981 in Mishawaka, Indiana. Interesting. We are the same age. We would be the same age.
Wow.
At the time of his hike, like we said, he was 30 years old. Scott was considered a quiet man without a lot of friends. When hiking on the trail, he went by the name Stonewall. So let me fill you in for that. For those who do not know, the whole hiking community, they go by hiking names.
Oh, okay.
So there'll be like, I don't know.
It's kind of like the dudes that are on like, trucker radios. Yeah.
Like a call name. Yeah. So it's very common. And this, in my opinion, kind of clouds things, especially for the investigation that I'll get into, because people don't use their real names. So if they're trying to track down witnesses or, stuff like that, you're going by a nickname. Very similar to what I feel like, guys that work in the gang enforcement and stuff like that. They have issues because most people in gangs don't use their real name. They, have a nickname or whatever. So, yeah, that's something that very much plays a part in this story, just so y'all know. So you're kind of up to speed that most people don't go by their real name. Scott had a childhood pastor who was an avid hiker who actually turned Scott onto hiking. I didn't read if they had gone hiking together or anything like that. I assume since he turned him on to, but they did say that Scott was influenced by his childhood pastor. It's known that Scott was a big Civil War buff, and definitely by his name, Stonewall. Stonewall Jackson.
That's cool. Oh, that makes sense.
Yep,
okay.
Yep. So on the morning of June 15th, 2011, Scott set out on his Appalachian Trail journey. Scott set out at the Maryland-Pennsylvania border on the Appalachian Trail to discover himself and to check out Civil War sites along the way. So this kind of ties back into, like, his mindset. Everything I read, Scott was really excited for this. And I can imagine, too, because I would love to do this.
No kidding.
I would be ecstatic to have the opportunity to do this, because not everybody with the way their life is structured can, be 30 years old and do this. Even if it's a portion hike, you're looking at what, 1 month, 2 months?
Yeah, exactly. That's like a lot of time off of like work and God knows what else you got. Just putting life on hold in general.
And so it was a hike of discovery. And it was just, he's 30. So he's getting a little bit up there in age, just kind of assessing his life and seeing, what things are about, taking time to himself, because he went alone, which takes some balls.
Yeah, it does.
The first time to go alone, I don't know if I would have the fortitude to
I'd want to go in a group. That'd be nice.
Yeah, a group would be fun too. But the whole point, I'm assuming, was him for to kind of take time and just analyze things. Who knows? Maybe he was thinking about changing a career. Maybe he was thinking about moving. Maybe he was thinking about relationships.
Maybe he was going through a rough time in his life. Like maybe he had shit going on.
So, I mean, I just felt very sympathetic to him because I very easily could see my 30-year-old self doing something like this. Absolutely. So his plans were to hike all the way up to Georgia with help from his family using Walmart e-gift cards. His mother would send them to him along the way. Now, having someone send you mail is fairly common along the hike.
Yeah, how does that work?
Yeah, so oftentimes family or friends knew the trail you were heading on, so they can send stuff days ahead. Even some hiker-friendly businesses would hold on to your mail. So usually you would know what path you're along and you're charting on, and you can kind of, scout it out. But then also part of the trail goes on roads, goes down by towns. Oh. So he could stop in and make a call.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
All that sort of stuff. Yeah, absolutely. So he could go into businesses and kind of update his family, where he's at and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So they could send him stuff that way. That's when cool. You think about it that way, you send it ahead of time, and then these businesses would have it waiting for you. Mm-hmm. So 45 days into the hike, Scott contacted his family for the last time. He was near a mountain known as the Priest in Nelson County, Virginia. At that point, Scott had hiked 200 miles. So again, Scott was a beginner as far as hiking goes. So he's a little bit behind what your, decent hiker would do. I estimate that he's probably less than a week behind what normal people would do. Judging by what was known, he had a 5 to 7 mile pace, which your advanced hikers can average up to 16.
Wow.
So yeah, he was, a novice, but he wasn't, too.
He wasn't super behind or anything like that.
Yep. So along the way, several people within that 45 days did see Scott and noticed him by his purple backpack, and he had orange and brown shoes on. It was also said that some hikers said he was carrying a fairly heavy load. Again, he's not as experienced.
Yeah, he doesn't know better.
Probably was carrying too much. It is known that Scott did stop at the Priest for a resting point. And the other thing I want to point out is there are lots of campsites along the Appalachian Trail. Some are very remote and there's not jack shit, and some are full sheltered. It just depends what you come across along the way. Now, I should have researched the spot where he was at more, but I was running into some problems and needless to say. But anyway, so it is now July 31st and there was a heavy storm in the morning. So keep in mind, Scott had pulled into the campsite at the Priest, followed by a light rain. It's thought that Scott might have waited the rain out, but it's not known for sure. After that rain, it was supposed to be clear for about a week after that. So just speculation again, because dude on a trail by himself, there's not a lot to go on. Mm-hmm. So just logically thinking, I'm imagining he would have waited it out. I mean, how gung-ho are you to hike in a thunderstorm?
Yeah, no kidding. I wouldn't want to do that. That sounds terrible.
It doesn't seem very logical, in my opinion. Now, in the early morning of August 12th, 2011, some hikers unfortunately stumbled onto Scott's body in a shallow grave.
Jesus.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's just, there's not really much I can say.
Well, hold up.
Sure.
So, did I hear you correctly? That same day they found his body, or this was a little bit later?
Yeah, and I tell that afterwards. So if you remember, he pulled into the Priest campsite on July 31st.
Yeah.
That 31st to August 1st was the thunderstorm rain.
Oh, shit.
Then he left at some point and was not discovered till August 12th.
Damn, okay.
So, yeah, there's some time in between there. And it's not known when he died. It's not known very much. His body was found on the side trail headed towards the Cow Camp Gap shelter in Georgia. Sorry, I felt like I was going to butcher that.
That's a tongue twister of a name.
It looks like he was on the path to go to that cow camp Gap shelter in Georgia. So he was right along the line of Virginia to Georgia. So yeah, heading north. Since this part of the trail is on federal land, the case was handed over to the FBI.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which kind of makes it interesting. Reports indicated that his body had been there for some time.
That would make sense in a shallow grave like that. Ugh.
Yeah. I mean,
can't imagine what state he could have been in. Ugh,
yeah.
Poor guy.
I estimate that it was at least a week and a half. Yeah, it was probably at least a week and a half.
That's so sad.
So the medical examiner ruled his death a homicide. Cause of death was asphyxiation by suffocation.
Oh.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, so this means something was blocking his airway.
So question, what family did he have? Did he have any kids or anything like that?
It doesn't say that he had any kids. He had at least a mom. I did not see anything of a dad. He had a sister. Like I said, there's not a lot to go on.
I saw his, like I said before, when you told me about this, the only thing I pulled up was his obituary because I wanted to see if there was anything about him, just because I like to always, get an idea of who the person was, before we do these things, or at least I try to. But lots of nothing about him. And the only thing I could see was that he did have a father that passed away.
Okay, well, that would make sense, yeah.
As well as his grandparents. But his obituary is on Palmer Funeral Home's website. And they took care of him back in 2011. And honestly, I even look at there's a part where you can look at condolences and stuff that people signed, and I was seeing if I could find anything about people who knew him, what would they say about him. And honestly, no, there's nothing here from actual people that knew him per se. There's people that knew his family or his mom, but there's barely anything about him in general. There was even one post that talked about they happened to hear about his story on the news and just wanted to send a condolence. So yeah, I think that's crazy. And,
maybe he kept to himself. Maybe he was evaluating that part of his life. You never know,
Yeah.
It's just sad. It's sad. So thought this should kind of factor into it because now that we're knowing cause of death, just so it's known, Scott wasn't a very big guy. He was 5'8" and 170 pounds.
Yeah, he looks pretty small.
He's not very
obituary
big.
Picture.
I mean, you compare that to me. I'm 6'1" and I'm 240. There's a big difference there. Yeah. And I have to think, with him not being the biggest dudes and the fact that he was suffocated just makes me think that someone my size or someone, quite a bit bigger than him, got to him, or maybe in his sleep, because they didn't see, any other struggle, marks or anything like that. And it could have been something as simple as he's laying in his sleeping bag, the sleeping bag gets zipped up, suffocated that way in his sleep. You could.
You think so?
You could. You could go.
That's very possible. But then it would beg to question. Okay, if it was an accidental death, who the fuck decided to just dig him in a shallow grave?
It wasn't an accidental. I mean, they ruled it, suffocation.
Well, okay. Yeah, but you ruled it suffocation. You're right. But you said, what if the whole accident thing with him being closed into a sleeping bag or anything like that? It's but who buried him?
Well, I meant deliberately.
Oh, that's what you meant.
Someone deliberately closing him in his sleeping bag or using that.
I didn't understand that.
Suffocate him or something like that.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. So no other information was released regarding his death. Very strange. Could not find a lot of information about. There literally was not much else. So the FBI was working with the National Park Service in questioning other hikers. It's estimated that as many as 80 hikers were questioned without not a lot of information coming from them. In the start of the investigation was released the trail names of 5 main hikers they wanted to talk to. So they never really said they were suspects. Mm-hmm. I believe that they were some of the people he encountered along the way.
Oh, yeah.
And it was thought one of them was kind of a troublemaker.
Oh.
On the hike in the trail, he was known as a troublemaker.
Okay.
I purposely left his name out because he had been cleared and was in another state at the time of the murder.
Gotcha.
But there was a guy that they were looking at because he was known as a troublemaker. Mm-hmm. So the 5 names of the men that they were interviewing at first were Mr. Coffee, White Wolf, Papa Smurf, Combat Gizmo, and Space Cadet.
Oh my God,
in hopes
these
of filling
names.
the time gap, see them, who else was around, because they're literally going on nothing. You know, I mean, this is secluded. I get into, you know, this area that he is, and it's fairly secluded. Most people did not think a fellow hitchhiker killed Scott, mainly because his gear was stolen, and you can't hike down with 2 packs and nobody's seeing that. I would say that I agree too. Having stole all his stuff. So, yeah, and I'll just get into it. Sorry, I forgot this spot.
No, it's all good.
Among the items missing were his trail shoes, his backpack, some clothing, a trail handbook, and a Nintendo video game system. No. So you would be hiking down with 2 packs, you know, sleeping bag, tent, all this sort of stuff. Pretty ballsy move too, because if someone spots you, these hikers are going to know that nobody hikes with 2 packs. If you remember, the hikers that did see Scott said that he was already carrying too much.
Yeah.
So why, you know, like, why would you try to do that? Because all it takes is one person seeing you and you're done. They're going to know you did it.
Yeah.
You know?
No kidding.
So I don't think it was another hiker either. To me, it just doesn't make sense. Unless they hid his stuff, but it's still never been found to this day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless it was a group effort.
Exactly. So the site, I'll talk about that briefly. So the site where he was found was only a half mile off the trail and 2 miles northwest of Wiggins Spring Road. That's about 10 miles from the closest town. So he's 12 miles out from the closest town, 2 miles away from the closest road that takes you into town.
Wow.
So pretty remote. And this isn't even like some of the most remote parts, you know, that you're hiking up in mountains and all that sort of stuff. That person would have to carry that stuff at least 2 miles. There's a chance they could have carried it and not been spotted and got into their car, parked somewhere along the road. You know, I don't know if there's parking spots or anything like that. A lot of people theorize that it had to have been someone, you know, coming up without, like, that wasn't hiking, that was maybe on the trail for like a day. You never know, like, if he exchanged words with this person, you know, you never know. They did mention the hill people, and they said that they don't theorize that the hill people did it because they usually are not like big time walkers.
Oh,
so they're
too lazy.
Yes, they tend to stay to their areas. And I thought that was interesting. I was reading that in an article because there's several people that have, you know, kind of theorized like what could have happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, it's an absolute mystery. It's crazy because there's not been much found on it. And I watched like several YouTube videos, and that's what everyone was saying is it's like Scott doesn't get mentioned very often at all with, like, you know, people that have gone missing, because since 1974, only 9 hikers have been killed in 6 separate incidents on the Appalachian Trail.
Wow.
So there's not a lot. There's not a lot at all. There was a double homicide that I saw. There was an older gentleman that went missing. I don't know if he'd ever even been located.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, there's not a lot. But not much gets mentioned on Scott.
Probably because there's not much to talk about because he was so private, and not to mention just like it's still a cold case, right? Nobody has solved anything.
It's still a cold case up to this day.
So how is did you ever research anything as far as like what his family, are they still trying to do investigation or what's going on?
So the family is like Scott and very private. I did not see anything. There was in the beginning a $10,000 reward put out.
Oh, wow.
Did not say whether from the family or the FBI. I looked into that, and then several people said that it was not mentioned whether it was from the family or the FBI. Other than that, there's not a lot. And it's just, that's a big part that drew me to this, because there's several other people I saw talk about this that wanted to try and stir it up, you know, talk about it, because it's just weird, because it's like, I feel like it's a case that just has fallen by the wayside.
That's so sad too, because he's like a local guy. Like he had family. You mentioned that he had a sister that was the only one that talked to the media. Is that right?
The sister and the pastor. I read several different news media articles, and they all end up almost being the same because there's not a lot about this. But yeah, that's the one thing is the two people that did speak out on his behalf were his sister and that pastor. So yeah, it's just baffling. So, you know, I know our little podcast doesn't have a ton of followers, but I wanted to just try to put this out there because, like, I believe his case needs more attention.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
It's the first time we've done one that's unsolved.
Yeah.
So I thought that was an important piece. He's from South Bend, so he's one of our own. I feel for the guy because, like I said, I found a personal connection because, like, I would love to do this. I know I've said that a bunch, but I would just love to, you know, do this. But in any event, like, I want to put this out there. And maybe a podcast that's bigger than us catches on to it.
Yeah.
And you know, finds more stuff or does something more. Because it's, you know, unsolved. And it's, I don't know, that didn't sit well with me. And there's not a lot of known, like, what happened, you know? There's just so many question marks to this.
It's just such a shame because it's like, you know, we cover a lot of these true crime episodes and they all seem to be like senseless crimes. Like you had no reason to do what you did. What the fuck? Why?
Yeah.
And you mentioned the stuff that was stolen from his bag and it's like, that's minor shit. What the fuck are you doing?
And you have to remember, these are very odd colors in the wilderness. A purple and blue backpack, that's going to stand out. Yeah. Orange and brown shoes, that's going to stand out.
Yeah.
So if someone ditched them, they would have had to have buried it. Now, if they buried it and they didn't hike off the mountain with it, then that's one thing that could be a possibility. But, you know, it's just, you'd think that if they were just discarded somewhere.
Yeah, you'd eventually find them somewhere.
You'd think, you know,
But you also mentioned parts of the Appalachian Trail are very remote, so maybe that's part of the remoteness of it, you know? Extremely
remote, yeah. It's crazy. So, you know, that concludes this tale of Scott Lilly.
Yeah, that's just so sad. The poor guy. He likes Civil War shit. He just wanted to enjoy that. Maybe see different grave sites or God knows what else he was into. That was his whole thing
too. He was going up there for self-discovery and to visit Civil War areas, relics, memories, all that sort of stuff. So it's just, I don't know. This one still just leaves me sitting weird. I hope that we can do an update episode on this one down the line.
Here's hoping that they find something, or maybe at least, hell, just like in memoriam of him. Like, dude, this is just so sad that he wanted to go out and find himself. We don't know the reason, and that's okay. But, you know, he never came back from it. And I feel bad for his family because I'm sure they have so many unanswered questions. I'm glad to see that he didn't have any children. I can't imagine if he did, you know, what that would have been like. But he definitely had family that loved him and cared about him. And it's just too bad.
Yeah, it's a sad story. So, you know, this one's going to sit with me for a while just because it's, you know, the unsolved aspect. It's the first one that I've kind of like dove into that was unsolved.
Here's hoping that something better comes out of it as far as like we either might not have all the answered questions that, you know, they're looking for, but at least have a better understanding of how he passed and maybe why the hell this happened. You know?
And, you know, people talk, people get drunk and share details.
Yeah.
This sort of thing happens all the time. There's, you know, cold cases can be solved. My family has a cold case in our history that was solved years later.
Yeah.
So it does happen. And I'm just hoping that, you know, that kind of comes and, you know, DNA gets advanced and gets more developed.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so you never know, but I wanted to put this out to just hopefully that it finds someone awareness that can pass it along, and they pass it along, and they pass it along. Because I felt like he doesn't have a lot of people speaking for him.
Yeah.
And I think that's just because he was probably like a person that just kept to himself a lot.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And so I'm sure the family has done a bunch of shit, and I know they, haven't forgot about him. So it's like, I wanted to put this in front of more ears, and hopefully it finds its way to, someone else, and hopefully something, can come of it, and
Absolutely.
they can finally have peace and finally know, if they want to, what actually happened, and then kind of go from there.
Amen. I really hope that they are able to do something. So, yeah. So that being said,
yep.
Look out for each other, and good night, cellar dwellers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.